pleasures that I have tonight is to introduce to you the Contrastano family. And the matriarch of the family is sitting here, and I know that her sister is not here. She's not feeling well. But tell her, please, that we missed her, and we hope that some other time she'll be able to make it. Dad, I want to introduce you to Mr. Contrastano, Mauro Sr. And Mom, would you stand up? Ms. Nancy Contrastano. Well, at every affair there has to be a little bit of foul-up. That was presented to you for your sister. Please bring that to her because she wasn't able to make it, but now another presentation for you. Next to introduce is Mauro's big brother John, who is the reason Mauro is still afraid of him. John, stand up. And John's wife, Adrienne, is here. She's not here. No, stand up for her, John, would you please? Next, I should really turn the microphone over to this next person, because I heard her last week on I Miss in the Morning. And this is Mauro and Mauro's niece and John's daughter, who's going to stand up and sing the national anthem now. Alexis. Did a great job at I Miss. Were you auditioning that morning? You were. Did you get the part? So you're doing better than your uncle then, is that? Yeah, that's fine. There's a couple of people, and I'm probably going to miss somebody somewhere, but there are some of the former recipients, and as they said, this is 18 years old today. And I'd love to have been able to introduce our first recipient of the ANCR roast. Dom, as you all know, passed away not too long ago. But the number 2 man is sitting over here, Mr. Richard Spillane. Also, Mr. Helio Boyle is with us tonight, not on stage. Where's Charlie Cates? Charlie Cates, stand up. Well, you can try like hell, but he told me you're not in the will. Lou Salvo, where are you, Lou Salvo? Lou Salvo is here with us. And last but not least, one of the originators of ANCR, Ray Gorman. Raymond still can't stand up in the poetry. Raymond, I got some ice over here. You remember that? I should introduce a couple of tables because they're here because of Mauro, and that's Mauro's office and others. Well, I don't know all the names, Mauro. I've been away too long. Bob, and you can You understand? All right, the number one guy that I've got to introduce is the fellow that was last on the ballot last year. And a guy who at his own expense, I don't want anybody to think that we flew him in, at his own expense came up from Florida. The first message I got from Bob was, you never phone, you never write, you never come and see me. So we made sure that Marvin got his invitation tonight. And what the dog's name is Rags. He's still waiting for me down in my... Bob is very much in love with animals. He had a beautiful, beautiful dog named Thunder. He now has a new dog named Rags. And he's part Dalmatian, and he's part German Shepherd. Very nice dog, but he chases blind people. Project.
Greetings, fun seekers. As you probably all know, at a certain age, all New York Jews are required by law to get dragged down to Florida, whether you want to or not. People come and they take you and they pull you down. Now, most of them go to southern Florida. Dave Tischler, Elaine Kagan, Jack Mattis, Marty Bergman, who's there. But Marty keeps trying to escape and gets back to New York, but they keep dragging him back. I think this time it may be for real. Gentiles go elsewhere. Hugh Foley, he retired to Oklahoma. Pat Harnedy, Tennessee. I rest my case. Now, O'Boyle has a place in southern Florida. Now that leads to certain suspicions. Could be that he was born Jewish, he was stolen by gypsies and sold to an Irish family. But I guess we're never going to know. Now this Jew didn't know that when you go, that Jews are supposed to go to Miami in vicinity. As you all know, I'm married to the Shiksa. Now she tricked me, and she took me to Central Florida. So many goyim in Central Florida. Now, basically, I planned on bringing you a Florida slideshow, which I'm sure you would have enjoyed, but I forgot the slides. So I'm going to ask you to use your imagination while I go through the slides that I would have brought had I not forgotten the slides. Give the lights, please. First slide is, here is the Jew being welcomed to Central Florida. Notice the pickup truck, which is blocking my car, with the gun rack on the back. Next slide, please. Here is the man with a very red neck getting out of the pickup truck. I also forgot the clicker, so click. Next slide, please. See the man with the very red neck removing the shotgun from the gun rack. Now, see the man. Click. Next slide. Click. See the man with the very red neck putting on what some sort of religious garment. It's like a white sheet and a white hood. Click. See the skid marks in my car making it into the pavement. We now arrive at our development in Central Florida. Click. Next slide, please. See the pool in our development. Click. Next slide. see the senior citizens bobbing up and down in the pool. None of the senior citizens swim. They just bob up and down, with their little white hats. Up and down, up and down. Click, next slide, please. See the pool suddenly get cleared out. It's a stampede. It's the early bird special. Everybody out of the pool. But enough about me. I'm going to make a few remarks about some of my colleagues on the dais here. My dear friend Jim Abrams is over there. Now, Jim Abrams, wherever he goes, wherever he's gone, he's left early. He worked at AT&T. He left early. Worked for Foley Smith. Left early. Worked for Jack Abramson. Went to a seminar on premature ejaculation. Now, Eve had 3 faces, that's true. And Sybil, she had quite a few. 1,000 had Cheney, but Jim had as many. From a shrink to a sot, to heaven knows what. Ted Abrams has talent. Now, old Catkin, he has partners galore. The ladies, we're sure, we adore. In Julie sells cars. John hangs out in bars. Who the hell's a partner that practices law? Now, I was in Hampstead one day, and I heard me a terrible fray. Who was that barking? Hey, it's Kenny Larkin. The guy once again gets his way. Now, hearken to Larkin, some people said. But the words that he used sort of mixed up my head. He said things that amazed me and stuff that bedazed me. So I went on my way, and I got into bed. And there once was a boy called Bob Helbach. He played football, a lineman, not skatball. Basketball. For in olden days, the lads went both ways, but he was too slow for the run back. The host of this shindig, Bob Helbach, once thought of himself as a great jock. He was big, he was strong, but his knees were all wrong. When he started to run, they would lock. They still lock. Now we salute the Helbach called Mary. Her talents are so much they vary. She tend to accrue as much bigger they grew. Her talents are so great, they're scary. Bobby H., the young politician, thinks he's on a great mission. In Albany, he's journeying. Now, this is a stretch. But on the golf course, he's journeying. And his thoughts are returning. He loves his clubs, this son of Bobby. There was a now down in the lobby. Over there, we have Bobby and Robbie. They search far and wide for a hobby. As they sat at a bar, one thought, ANCR. Now look around, look at this lobby. You can't object. Now we all know Marcia Ulaner. He has one partner who's a constant complainer. The guy's name is Gene, a beer drinker supreme, driving Ulaner insaner. There once was a guy named Spillane. Only daughters was he able to gain. He kept telling his spouse, I need a boy in this house. Said she, then get a Great Dane. The guy that we know is Spillane. His beer drinking gives him great fame. When he got down to business, his favorite was Guinness. Next morning, his head was in pain. I didn't forget you, Mauro. There once was an actor called Mauro. Who could emote laughter or sorrow? When clients complain, he said, speak to Spillane, I've got to rehearse for tomorrow. Talk about complaining. The lawyer we know is Mauro. Whined 4 duties tomorrow. He bitched and he moaned, but with the skills that he honed, he caused the carriers great sorrow. To the local pool room went Mauro. He thought he would shoot just a few. It was there he got hooked on a drama. It was there that he took his first cue. Last sliver. Look, see Mauro the thespian. In movies he played an equestrian. But he fell off the horse with such a great horse that now he's like part of a pedestrian. Mauro, stand up. Mauro, this is tantamount to like a bar mitzvah. And a bar mitzvah, boy gets a traditional gift. And I have for you here a pen and a pencil set. This is from Florida. It's from Lake Cardiology. Here's the pen. And here's a pencil. It's from the villages for the golf pencil. So you now have a pen and pencil set.
Marvelous, Mark. Good job, Mark. Next on the bill is a young man who is better known as Charlie Jones' sidekick. Unbeknownst to a lot of people here, his real nickname is Red. And that's not because of the color of his hair. He just finished his first book, and all of his friends are calling him Red.
All right, please.
How's everybody doing tonight? Getting old to bitch, isn't it? I didn't mind getting in reading classes so much, but the hearing aids they put in each stem here are kind of annoying. I thought I'd start off the evening with a prayer. Charlie Jones gave it to me, so I thought I'd share it with the rest of you. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to hide the bodies of those people I had to kill because they pissed me off. I have here the 10 best reasons why Mauro agreed to be roasted this evening. Number 10, we told him that this was a dinner to honor Stu Goldstein as the new president of the Hair Club for Men. Number 9, we told him that tonight's entertainment featured a sumo wrestling match between Lenny Feld and Drew Mizell in those cute little white diapers. Back down. It's heard of your prowess. Number 8, he was burning up with fever and heavily medicated. Number 7, we told him that this was a seminar on the art of brotherly love with guest speakers Joel Gluck and Lou Heller. We offered him an autographed copy of Kevin Walsh's new book, I'm Okay and I Don't Care If Anybody Else Is. Bear with me on this one. Number 5, everybody else in their right mind said, no way. Number 4, it's been several months since he's been insulted by a minion of drunken lawyers. Number 3, we hit him in the head with a blunt instrument and made him listen to Barry Manilow albums. Number 2, Bob Hellback told him if he said no, he'd hunt him down and beat him with a waffle iron. And number 1, this is the number 1 reason why Mauro agreed to be roasted this evening. This is not really Mauro Contrastano, it's Ricardo Montalban. he looks great, doesn't he? I mean, he's always impeccably attired. I mean, Mauro and I are the same age, and this is kind of discouraging for the rest of us. He always looks great. The rest of us have to work really hard, you know, looking at this decent. I mean, look at him. Every hair is in place. I mean, myself, I've been using Rogaine for several months, and I don't know if my hair's getting any thicker, but I've been shaving my hands twice a day. Now, you know that Mauro is an aspiring actor. He's worked in community theater for 10 years, and he's had some really great successes. But he's a little bit temperamental. You know, artists tend to get like that. As a matter of fact, Mauro asked me to make an announcement tonight because he's getting kind of temperamental. He's getting more famous as an artist. He's told me that he no longer wants to be called Mauro. We're making an announcement tonight that he wants to be known as the lawyer formerly known as Mauro. First time for everybody to see this. I think we all would like that name, Mauro. Now, Mauro has acted in community theater, and he's had a number of successes out there. I have a list of some of the off-Broadway productions, sort of way off-Broadway productions that he's been in. And I don't know if any of you had a chance to see him, but here's a list of some of his former successes. He was in Fiddler on the Roof, Oops, I Fell Off. He followed that success with A Streetcar Maimed My Client. He got rave reviews. He then shaved his head and was in The Sling and I. And then he followed that up recently with Asbestos and Old Lace. Now he sort of segued this theatrical career into a modest movie career. He was in a low-budget film. I don't know if any of you saw it, but it was called Forrest Gump. It's about a simple-minded man who gets injured on the job. He's classified with a permanent partial disability, but he has a spirit that just won't quit. He goes through vocational rehabilitation, and he later finds fame and fortune after opening up the Bubba Chiropractic Place. Family is here. It's very nice to see all of them. Mauro has one brother, John, but that wasn't always his name. When he was born, Mr. and Mrs. Contrastano named him Lester. But that caused a lot of confusion when they were very young boys. People would come up to Mr. Contrastano and say, "How many children do you have?" And he would say, "I have 2 sons, more or less." Mauro's been with the same firm for 20 years. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. He came to the job because he answered an ad that said that, the firm was looking for a lawyer that spoke Italian. So that was no problem. Mauro spoke fluent Italian. There was one small problem. He spoke no English. They decided to take a chance with him, so they sort of cut a deal. They said, "We'll teach you English, and you make lunch for everybody while we're here." And it was really working well. After 6 months, Mauro, as bright as he is, was speaking pretty fluent English. The firm was getting very upset. They discovered that they were making more money from the sale of his calzones than they were from the practice. I have a brief announcement here on some new legislation that's being discussed. I mean, it seems that the governor and the legislature aren't really done helping us out here. So what they're going to do is they're going to streamline the hearing system. They're going to get rid of all the lawyers. They're going to get rid of all the licensed reps. The court reporters are gone, the judges are gone. And basically what they're trying to do is go to like a fast food drive-through format. All the claimants are going to drive up and speak into a giant plastic clown mask. And it'll go something like a PPD, symptomatic treatment, large fries, and a double comp burger. Now, they don't want us to think that they've forgotten about us, because the Workers' Compensation Law Association is very dear to the legislature and the government. They've shown us that. So what they did do was, in exchange for making some changes that may not be lawyer-friendly, as we'd like to think, they've offered us a new benefit. What they've offered is unlimited free proctology exams by Dr. Vinny Ten Thumbs Moonbots. Mauro, because of his fame and talent in the workers' compensation arena, he's been appointed by the governor. I don't know if any of you have heard this, but he's been appointed to head a new committee on the idea of managed health care. And immediately, seizing upon his skill to recognize talent out there, he immediately appointed several very qualified people to his committee. He immediately went out and got Dr. Kevorkian to be on it. He got Dr. Joyce Brothers, and he got Doc Goodman, which I think will help out. I heard, lawyers, I don't know why we get such a bad rap. I mean, everybody's sort of poking fun at us, but I did hear a lawyer joke the other day that I thought was kind of interesting. What can a goose do that a duck can't do that a lawyer should do? Stick his bill up his ass. Right, so, one other talent that you may not know, Mauro he plays the piano. We don't have a piano here this evening, unfortunately, but what I'd like to do, I've reviewed some old film clips of Mauro playing the piano when he first started out, and I'd like to share my rendition of Mauro starting out as a classic piano player. Ladies and gentlemen, little Mauro Wonder. Mauro's one of the true gentlemen and one of the nicest people in this industry. I thank him from the bottom of my heart for letting me be a part of this evening. Thank you.
Terrific. How do you follow that? Well, how do you follow it? You follow it with a young man named, well, I won't give you his name. I just want to tell you a little story about him. He recently heard that pepper spray is now on the market and is now legal. And that's very nice for young ladies who are going home at night, etc. But he's been using it on his steak. My son, Robert.
The paradox of Mauro Contrastano, lawyer or actor, gentleman or mama's boy. People have asked, how did you get such a star as Mauro Contrastano to agree to be roasted this evening? And I tell you, it wasn't easy. After we asked Mauro, he said he had to think about it, and then he started his analysis in a Shakespearean soliloquy. To roast or not to roast? That is the question. Would it be more noble to suffer the slings and insult of my peers, or to sit in the crowd for 3 hours listening to Dick's Enunciate for your answer? Thou indulgent tones and events of yore, I would choose the former. But wait, what if thou roasters shalt challenge my virtue? Then I shall respond by asserting my vow of chastity. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, only Mauro's mother would believe that he's a 45-year-old virgin. But Mauro continued, and if thou roasters shalt take issue with my Italian heritage, then I shall proclaim this that I wear my pride on my face. And I'm thinking, no paisan is that pasty. Mauro makes Gail Kisner look like she's got a tan. But upon hearing all of this, I could be silent no longer. So I responded to him, Mauro, dear Mauro, I mock thee not. For thou art a Gentile soul, and we all know that Gentiles are a little hard to come by in this business. But Mauro, to thine own self be true. Is the theatre your real calling, or is the heroic profession of comp law your heart's desire? And I'm really thinking, or would you starve in either one by itself? But in a way, I feel for Mauro. I mean, here he has dreamed of the lights of the Great White Way, Broadway, and the closest he's come is the headlights of oncoming traffic. Do people know that Mauro has really closed so many community plays that the Bronxville Press calls him the butcher of off Broadway? And Mauro's enthusiasm for the theater is very contagious amongst his co-workers. For example, one of the many days that Mauro takes off to prepare for a performance, you can often hear Annette, his secretary, walking around the office, calling for him, "Mauro, Mauro, wherefore art thou, Mauro?" Or sometimes you can hear Danny Savino say to a client, as he takes out his notice of substitution, "Alas, Paul Plus, I knew him well." Poor Gene Spillane, who really has no concept of the theater. His idea of a tragedy is when he spills a glass of Guinness. But in addition to his successes, Mauro's had some hard luck in the theater also, like the parts that got away. The first was a role, and the funny thing happened on the way to the Forum. He didn't want to play Polonius. No. He wanted the part of Ludius Maximus. But the director didn't want an ass to play an ass. Another was when he tried for the part of Shylock in The Merchant of Venice. But the producer felt Don Stewart fit the role better. And then there was the disappointing time that Mauro tried for the Julie Andrews part in Victor Victoria. But the director didn't think that he was convincing as a man. Mauro's biggest problem has always been the casting couch. He always falls asleep on it. And then there's Mauro's opening night jitters. He gets so sick that he makes one of Richie Kellman's hangovers look mild. But now, Mauro's greatest role may be the real-life comedy co-starring Gene Spillane, who, on August 1st of 1989, was thrown out of his job and asked never to return. That request came from his boss. With nowhere else to go, he arrived at the firm of his friend Mauro Contrastano, who himself had left his last employment and been asked never to return. The two neurotic men practice law together without driving Marcy Lane crazy. Aspects of Mauro. I mean, here's a guy who's 45 years old, single, lives near his mother, and is a member of a bar. Mauro, are you sure you're not Irish? As for his attorney skills, in the words of Judge Warren Finkelstein, Mauro can give lessons in both intermediate and advanced groveling. As for your future, Mauro, if the meat were to inherit the earth, then you'll be owning a lot of real estate. However, Mauro recognized tonight for what it is, an opportunity. Can I have your attention, Mauro? Thank you. An opportunity to reward people for their outstanding performances during the past year. To that end, I consulted with our resident drama critic, Anthony Ranieri, to come up with this year's Tony's Awards. I'm here to announce the winners. First, I am obliged to say that tonight's vote tallies were taken by Price Waterhouse, so you may wish to question their validity. Here are tonight's Tonys. The award for Best Producer goes to Joe Berman for his role in Miss Saigon. The award for Best Score goes to anyone who dates Wendy Bernstein. The award for best choreography goes to Dr. Bill Head, who can dance around any question you ask him. The award for best supporting actor goes to Kevin Walsh for his subordinate role in the Lou Bella production of The King and I. The award for best costume goes to Jonathan Poznanski, who makes Mel Schramm look neatly dressed. And finally, the award for best actress goes to Mickey Worms. That is an act, right? Well, before I leave tonight, I do have to comment on how great it is to see Mark Jasper here tonight. Hey, old boy, I thought you said you got rid of him. And I am happy to hear that Ken Larkin is dating again, although I've heard that since the advent of caller ID, he hasn't been able to get a second date. But in closing, let me use the words of William Shakespeare again. I have come here tonight not to bury Mauro, but to praise him. Mauro, congratulations.
That's my boy. Rob, the waiter just brought us a note from your college. They said there was one particular thing that was left there. This is your mark for your speech course. Next up, a man who has been slandered tonight, who couldn't wait to get up there, wanted to be number one. Now he's number 4. Gene Spillane. I just want to tell everybody, Gene gets all of his clothes from a catalog. And then after he wears them, he sends it back and said he was just shopping. So this goes back about 11 o'clock tonight. Gene?
Thank you, Bob. I'm going to use this one. Mr. and Mrs. Contrastano, I don't know what Sonny Boy told you about tonight, but I guess you figured out that this is not a testimonial dinner in honor of Mauro. Now, if you still think highly of Mauro, and I can't see how you could, you can still leave. Now, I think Bob had it backwards when he gave some quotes before from Shakespeare. I'd rather quote the great Latin scholar Compensatius. We come here not to praise Mauro, but to bury him. Now, Mauro, you've been doing this for years on one side. You're going to sit here and take it from the other. But before I get to Mauro, I just want to point out a little old fact. This room here used to be the room where they give out the Heisman Trophy. And I'm humbled to be at the same podium where 30 years ago, the great number 32 from Southern California was here for his award. In fact, when I was up here earlier, I noticed that OJ left something behind. Can everybody get a good look at this? Mauro, I want you to hold this tight. Try explaining where your fingerprints, you jerk. I'm done, no. You can pass that around, Mauro. More incriminating. Before I get to our sacrificial guest, there are a few others chosen for some shredding. Now, they call me a bigot, but I want to say Marv Jasper really offended me with his Goyish out before. But don't worry, Marv, I'll get you back because you're on my list. Everybody knows that the ANCR dinner is the brainchild of Bob Helbach Sr. Bob, you can clap, yes, please, feel free, makes you feel good. Don't hold your applause. Bob has led this affair throughout the years, and to think that in the beginning, he roasted the legends of the industry. My Uncle Dick, you old Boyle, and a few others, Charlie Cates back there. And to think, Bob, how far the honorees have fallen. Sorry. Right, all right. Where am I? Okay, but Bob, we gotta tell you, the last few years you've been put out to pasture. Okay, and the tradition, the burden of carrying on with this show has fallen on the shoulders of your son, also imaginatively called Bob. Bob Jr. has proven capable to the task. But let's face it, the only reason, Bob, that you got this job, hell, the only reason that you're in this industry is due to the dreaded N-word. I never use that word. I'm talking nepotism. The thought of it makes me ill, that somebody would get a job due to blood relation. Wait, that wasn't a joke. Nepotism is rampant in this industry. Look around the room. You know who you are. Billy Jones. Stand up, Mike Deccanova. Abe Markov. The whole Lights to Excellent table. Where's my banjo? That's later on. Hey fellas, didn't your fathers like you? I want to get back to Bob Jr. He thought he was off the hook. It's clear that you love your old man. And imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. You followed him into the business. You followed him into politics. You even followed him to hacking around on a golf course. But Bob, copying his hairdo, that's too much. That hairdo only works when you're old and gray and seemingly harmless. One of Mauro's contemporaries, Marv Jasper, has returned to pay homage. He's the only guy to laugh at it. It must have been horrible. Marv is one of my all-time favorites. He's the only Jewish guy I know who's part Irish. Which part, I'm not sure. But it's true, Marv's grandmother is from Dublin. Anyway, Marv left us last year. The industry, and he did something totally daring and out of the ordinary for a septuagenarian, chosen New York lawyer. He retired to Florida. But in keeping up with the Schwartzes, Marv bought his own customized golf cart. And now he spends his days honing his golf game in the Sunshine State. Shore Beach, looking at the board, Marv. I'm told that the restaurant business is flourishing in Marv's town, as every day, Marv can be seen tearing off the golf course at 4 o'clock in his customized cart, racing to beat the crowd, you guessed it, for the early bird specials. I know he used my joke, I can't believe it. All right. I'm also told that the golf ball sales in Marv's town is soaring. It seems that Marv can't hold on to his long enough. He's been a steady benefactor of the lakes and marshes of his golf course, but at least he still has his marbles, unlike some of his fellow retirees. Marv still remembers how to count his golf strokes, unlike Lou Salvo, and Marv remembers how to pull his fly down when doing the natural. To re-quote Compensatius, it is better to lose your balls than your mind. Mazel tov, Marv. I'd like to thank my Uncle Dick for getting me into this business. You're dead. You better have some protection leaving here. Now, it is true that my uncle is responsible for hiring Mauro, but we've forgiven him. Everyone is entitled to a mistake, although this one was admittedly a doozy. I think that the opportunity that my uncle has given me has enabled me to meet a broad, diverse spectrum of our rainbow citizenry, as well as members of the bar, and I feel that's made me much more liberal and tolerant of others. Practicing at the board is unique to the law profession. It's like being part of a large extended family, seeing the same faces day in and day out. In my 13 years in the industry, these faces have changed drastically. From the wise and craggy faces of the old-timers to the lovely countenances of the newcomers. Yes, sirree, times are changing at the board, thank God. Leading the vanguard of the movement is Marty Crutzel. Marty is accomplishing via the payroll deduction what he failed at so miserably in his dating years. He's surrounding himself with lovely ladies. Hell, even Richie Cooper is downright perky going to the office in the morning. One of Marty's competitors, Euro Boyle, never went to let grass grow under his feet or hair on his head. Has tried to keep the pace as seen fit by his last two hirees. On behalf of the fellows at the board, we'd like to thank you guys. Only one firm is seemingly bucking the trend, and that's Stewart de Curtis. For some unknown reason, Don Stewart of Peter de Curtis persists in hiring young boys. I wonder what to make of that. I'm going to get the hook soon, but I was told that the judiciary was off limits. I couldn't resist. Our firm has a Staten Island office, and we appear regularly before Judge Warren Velvel Finkelstein. The judge came to us a few years back from White Plains with some reputation, and did he earn it? The judge is short in stature, looks, and appendages. His motto is brevity. Brevity on the calendar, matters of lovemaking, and in the time he lets a shot glass sit in front of him at the bar. The judge is quite a character. Of course he didn't show up tonight, but he's quite a character, but it was on the calendar that his legend was born. He can regularly be seen sitting in his chair with his hands hidden below the bench, fumbling away at God knows what. These machinations have produced looks of shock and disbelief amongst claimants, stenographers, and attorneys alike. At first, I thought he was just emulating his judicial role model, Learned Hand. I later on discovered that he was just rearranging himself for a run to the men's room. Now, there's no denying that Warren knows the law inside and out. And it was a mystery as to how a man could attain such knowledge. But I solved it. You see, every day, Warren makes multiple pilgrimages, that's the word, to the boys' room. And each time he goes, he faithfully brings along a 6-inch by 8-inch black leather book. Actually, it's pleather. Initially, I thought this was his date book. But then I realized that if that were the case, the book would be so small as to be almost invisible. The only book smaller in the annals of the printed word is that epic. Famous Jewish sports legends. Next victim. Marcy Ulena. Hey Marcy, I may not be funny, but I ain't stupid. Jimmy Abrams. Jimmy boy, he's viewed as an old-timer, which is partly true, given his age. But he's only been an attorney for the past 5 years. In that brief time span, Jim has worked for 6 different firms, at last count. Any more? Okay. The last 3 have been in our industry. Now, some people applaud Jim's career changes. They say he's upwardly mobile, but I don't. I call him... What do I call him? Impotent. No, I'm sorry, incompetent. Sorry, Jim, I wasn't supposed to mention that little problem. I mean, look at Jim's employment resume. This guy is a 1997 poster child for people who can't hold on to a job. Look at where he's been. He started in the industry as Steve Weissman's personal valet. But the job proved too dangerous, trying to drive Steve around town, while Weissman was constantly rearranging his sun reflector to get maximum tan. Jim jumped ship to a claimant's firm, and he took the mantle as Stu Goldstein's cabin boy. But the images of that union are too sickening and disgusting to even contemplate. Jim jumped back to the carrier side and he landed as Ben Root's companion and home attendant. Jim, a true switch hitter, has jumped sides so often, he doesn't know whether to pitch or catch. Get out of here, Jim. Mauro, Anthony Contrastano, the roastee. Oh, yeah, you're hell in your habit. What can I say about my senior partner and still keep my job? I've known Mauro for the past 13 years, and I love him. Like a brother. But Mauro's an enema I mean an enigma. Let's get these glasses fixed. I didn't even wear the glasses. Anyway, who can fathom that Mauro was born in the rough and tumble South Bronx? He was a good little boy, never got into any trouble. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Contrastano, that should have been your first clue. Mauro went to St. Adalbert's and St. All right, I'm from Staten Island, and St. Francis Xavier Grammar Schools. He spent his high school years at Cardinal Spellman, but then his educational path took a radical left turn, and he matriculated at both NYU undergrad and law. Mauro's star continued to rise when he somehow managed to pass the bar, but it came to a screeching halt when he accepted his lone job offer with Caruso and Splain. Mauro moved up the social ladder, but you couldn't take the Bronx out of Mauro. He moved a little northward to the Tony Westchester community of Bronxville, where he became a co-op baron. Despite his success, Mauro remained Mauro. I'm going to tell you something we already know. Sorry, Bob. Mauro is strange. He's the only paisan I know who can't tan. Every other Italian I know works on getting the dark, savage tan that by the end of the summer, I'm not sure which side of the Mediterranean they're from. But not Mauro. Due to some genetic defect, he's able to hold on to that unhealthy yellow pallor year-round. Hey, what's the girl's name? He even makes corpses look healthy. Mauro suffers from a severe inferiority complex brought about by his name. But not only is he a non-tanning Italian, he's also the only one who Italians can't pronounce his name. This is true. I get more calls from claimants from Italy who royally butcher Contrastano. I have more fun correcting them and letting them hang out there, stumbling on and on. I'll give you a typical exchange. The phone's ringing. Hello, I'd like to speak with Mario Guzmano. I'm sorry, you mean Mauro Contrastano. Mauro Casatino. You're getting closer. Mauro Contrastano. Mauro Contrastano? You're almost there, buddy. Contrastano. Come on, repeat after me. Contrastano. Contrastano. Minge Maran. What is my name is that? Hey! This has obviously gone on for Mauro's whole life, and it accounts for his peculiar behavior. Like Walter Mitty, Mauro sought his escape in imaginary characters, and he soon found himself heavily involved in acting. The theater became Mauro's passion, his raison d'etre. He not only performed various acting roles, but he got behind the scenes as a director, producer, and a screenwriter. This forum proved a perfect fit for Mauro's vast talents involving dialect and multiple personality disorders. Mauro even makes Sybil look normal. I'm not talking about Shepard. Mauro was and still is hoping to follow in the footsteps of Bobby De Niro, his fellow paisan from the hood, making the jump from the Bronx to the silver screen. I mean, picture this. Mauro auditioning for a taxi driver. You know the scene. Hey, excuse me, sir, are you talking to me? I'm sorry, I thought you were talking to me. Would you like to talk to me? Oh, please, talk to me. I get it, you're Bobby De Niro! Where am I? One person was pulling for Mauro to get to the silver screen and out of comp, and that was Marcy. Not out of any love, but just to get rid of your carcass. For the past few years now, Mauro's been secretly working on his own screenplay. You've seen him down at the board in the attorney's room. Ostensibly, he's prepping his cases, but in reality, he's working on his own piece, aptly named A Bronx Tale. It's a story of Mauro's life experiences, and he's put his whole being into it. You can imagine the utter devastation and despair when another one of Mauro's paisans stole his idea, Chaz Palminteri. But Mauro, being somewhat lazy, merely added the word Ville to the title, and now he's marketing A Bronxville Tale. It's a story of tea parties, wine and cheeses, chamber music, walks through the rose gardens, and interior decorating. I'm not sure how this will go in Hollywood, but Emma Thompson and Anthony Hopkins have rocketed to stardom in the same genre. Throughout the time that Mauro has been working on his project, I've been secretly working on a score for his play. I hope you can still use it, Mauro. Wait, hold on. was my video. No, that was my, whatever the guy's name was. Anyway, I got one more thing and then we're out of here. Johnny Poznanski thought that a song parody was in order, using a well-known Italian standard. You'll know the melody. Feel free to join in the chorus. You got wait, I can't sing. Do you use the other one? Okay. Is this on? All right, here we go, guys. At the board, who's the guy with the bigger bow and tie? That's a Mauro. That's a Mauro. Who never goes to work without his little player book. That's a Mauro. That's a Mauro. Who can sing and act and dance? He's waiting for his chance for Broadway. That's a Mauro. Who is driving Marcy nuts, cause he really is a putz. That's a Mauro. Not in the same as the first. He loves ANCR cause he thinks he's the star. That's a motto. That's a motto. He live in a Bronxville and he make of us quite ill. That's a motto. That's a motto. But this song's gone too far and I gotta go to the bar. Goodbye, Mauro. Goodbye, Mauro. I don't wanna ruin your night cause you always treated me right. I love you, Mauro.
I present the ANCR sisters. Jean came to me nervous as could be today. In fact, as I said, actually we lived across the street from each other, and he kept saying, I gotta go first, I gotta go first. I don't have much. Hey, Jean.
Gary, what is now,
She wrote it, eh? That was terrific. Next is Alan Katkin. But before Mr. Katkin comes up, I just want to tell you that he recently moved into a new home, and he had an alarm system put in, and he just didn't know how to turn it off, so he called the police and turned himself in. Alan Katkin.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening, and welcome to the 18th annual ANCR. Bob tells me that stands for Annual Night of Carousing and Roasting, but I prefer to think of it as another night of caustic remarks. I'd like to start with a quick industry update. Nice place you got. By now, you're all familiar with the Fall Plus tragedy. All the details have come out, but there's still one loose end that has authorities puzzled. It seems that when the arrest warrant was issued, Paul went into hiding and no one knows how the police were able to locate him. We have the answer now. They simply followed the trail of pistachio nutshells. And on a happier note, after 46 years as an associate, Alan Tishman has announced that he's left the firm of Levidow and he's striking out on his own. And we wish him luck. He's available for per diem. When asked why he waited so long, Tishman responded that he didn't want to leave before Oberman gave him his Christmas bonus from 1962. On a personal note, I haven't had any blowouts with Judge Rosenbluth until recently. We were in the middle of a trial, and I made an objection. He made a ruling, and then he said, nope, I've changed my mind. All I said was good. Does it work better now? All right, moving right along, I thought we'd try something a little bit different this year, a musical interlude. Tonight, we bring you live for the first time anywhere, a preview of a brand new CD available in time for Christmas, Golden Oldies of Compensation. And to entertain you with some selections from the CD, we present Dr. Catskin and the PPDs.
You have to sing.
Come on, PPDs. Okay. Our first preview was a tremendous hit by Neil Slacker. Breaking in new judges is hard to do. Please refer to your songbooks and feel free to join right in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dum 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 doobie doo dum dum. Kaba kaba dum doobie doo dum dum. Kaba kaba dum doobie doo dum dum. Breaking in new judges is hard to do. Don't take my judges away from me. No more Nancy, Rosie. Now they're gone and I'm so blue, 'cause Jerry's still in part 2. Dum doo dum doobie doo dum dum. Kaba kaba dum doobie doo dum dum. Also, for your listening pleasure, please recall with us this former #1 hit, Down at the Comp Board. Down at the comp board, down at the comp board, down at the comp board, down at the comp board. Carriers are so cheap, the judges fall asleep at the comp board. Comp board. Carriers say less, claimants want more. Both sides doctors are pompous whores. Lord have mercy on a lawyer down at the comp board. Lord have mercy on the lawyer down at the comp board. And you also get this romantic ballad I'm sure you'll recognize. To all the claimants I've screwed before. To all the claimants I've screwed before. Sent them home without awards. Filed a 22B work activity. They claimed it wasn't me. To all the claimants I've screwed before. I'm sorry, but I've got a cure. For your disappointment, a lump sum settlement, a really big score. No compendium of compensation hits would be complete without the compo anthem of the 80s, making a big comeback this year, ANCR. Listen, we'd like everyone to join us in this one. I want everybody to stand up. Come on, everybody up. Everybody, come on. You too. Okay. Somebody prop up McCarthy, please. All right, look at pages 5 and 6 of your songbooks, and let's try it out. Everybody give me an A. A. All right, good. Let's try N. N. Now C. C. Okay, and R with your leg out. R. All right, everybody got it? A, N, C, R. Okay. All right, here we go. Young man, do you want to work all your life? Young man, do you want to impress your wife? Young man, do you want to stop paying taxes and keep all your greenbacks? It's fun to claim ANCR. It's fun to claim ANCR. You can stay home all day. You can hang out and play, just as long as you're not caught on day. It's fun to claim ANCR. It's fun to claim ANCR. Young man, does your job really truly stink? Young man, would you rather stay home and drink? Young man, do you want to be DPD? Just bribe the IME. It's fun to claim make a Caribbean sun with the proceeds of your love song. It's fun to play ANCR. It's fun to play ANCR. CDs are available at the introductory price of $24.99. We'll be happy to autograph them for you. Makes a great Christmas present for your favorite claimant. And can we have a big hand for the PPDs, Alyssa Landa and Mark Allen? And a big thank you to Ricardo Morcello from my firm who designed your songbooks. And now let's turn our attention to the panel. I'd like to thank Bob Hellbach Sr. for once again helping to organize and agreeing to MC this great event. And also to his lovely wife Mary. And Bob, you'll be pleased to know, by the way, that I've finally taken up golf on your advice. But I have to tell you, honestly, I like baseball a lot better. It's easier. When I hit the baseball, someone else chases it. And many of you may not know that Bob Hellbach Jr. was called in as a specialist by the Dole campaign to help punch up his charisma. He taught Dole how to look nonchalant while tumbling from the podium. Bobby has kept his campaign election record intact. 27 straight losses. And considering you're a Republican, Bob, all I can say is, attaboy, keep up the good work. And we have a new member of the panel this year, Gene Spillane, Mauro's partner. Did a great job tonight. But some of you may not know, politically, Gene is slightly to the right of Attila the Hun. For example, in the recent presidential election, he cast a write-in ballot for Mark Furman. Gene is the closest thing we have to a redneck in Staten Island. Before he was married, he used to go to family reunions to pick up women. And of course, we can't forget Jimmy Abrams, though Lord knows I've tried. He's still as dumb as ever. Remember I told you last year about his part-time job in the M&M factory? He lost it. He got fired for throwing out the W's. And Kenny Larkin is back with us this year, fresh from his annual vacation at the Betty Ford Clinic. You know, Kenny says despite his drinking, he's never been sick a day in his life. He's quite nauseous at night, but days never. And finally, that brings me to last year's recipient, Marvin Jasper. But what can I say about Marvin that he hasn't already said about himself? Over and over and over again. Well, as you know, our guest of honor tonight is Mauro Contrastano, and in a departure from tradition, I've invited a guest to deliver the retrospective of Mauro's life and career, the famed producer and director Otto von Stucktuchisch. Please be patient, we'll be here momentarily. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Why is it that you can never get the twist off cap from a beer bottle to twist back on, and why would you want to?
All right.
Talk among yourself, for Christ's sake.
Listen. Shut up.
We're having technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Let's put this moment very I think it's
Shut up! What are you doing? The tall person just left. Press the down.
Wait, how was the man live?
Good evening. I am the famed film producer and director, Otto van Stock-de-Kaas. We will discuss more Contrastano's life and career. But first, we must discuss his name. What the hell kind of name is Mauro Contrastano? A big star, a leading man, must choose a bold and masculine name like rock salt or chip granite. Not a baby, silly name like Mauro Contrastano. Dummkopf. Who is your agent anyway? Brüssel Wechsler? What is the derivation of that name, Contrastano? The root word is contrast. This means difference, back and forth, indecision, no? And Mauro is Italian for more. More indecision. Come to think of it, I have seen you on the calendar and that is a good name for you. Since Mauro means more in English, we will call you Mauro for short. When Mauro was a little baby, when he was born and the doctor schnecked him on the butt, he didn't cry out like the other babies. No, he burst into a chorus of Oklahoma. Mauro's parents were so humiliated, they quickly spirited him away to St. Adalbert's convent in the Bronx. In the convent, little Mauro began to develop his acting skills. In fact, the first role that he had was as Oliver, when he meekly begged the Mother Superior, "May I have another cannoli, please?" And he continued to develop the instinctual acting skills he would find so useful in his legal career years later. Begging, whining, bitching and moaning. There came a time when Mauro decided to leave the convent and the church, and he dashed his family's hopes for him to become the first man in the Contrastano family. Mauro attended college and law school at NYU. He didn't learn much law, but he picked up a recipe for a very tasty matzo ball soup. Since Mauro's legal career has been largely undistinguished, we will concentrate on his accomplishments in the performing arts. When Mauro first told his partners at Caruso, Spillane, Contrastano and Elena that he wanted to pursue an acting career, their responses were as follows. Dick Spillane said, "Huh? Marcy Elena said, "Get a life, putz." James Spillane said, "Will there be Guinness at the cast parties?" And Danny Savino said, "Why can't I be a star? Look at my hair, look at my hair!" In his acting career, Mauro has patterned himself after his idol, the great screen legend, Don Knotts. In his legal career, he's more like Don's character, Barney Fife. Let me now mention some of the productions Mauro and I have collaborated on. Lassie Come Home, mit Mauro in the role of Timmy and Joe Gluck as his faithful canine companion. The Exorcist, mit Mauro as the tortured Jesuit priest Father Damien and Jerry Herman as the Prince of Darkness. And the Addams Family, mit Mauro as Gomez to Gail Kisner's Morticia. Some other interesting tidbits about Mauro. As a celebrity, he is always eager to lend his name to a good cause. For instance, he sponsored a chain of homes for unwed mothers. He calls them the Oldsway houses.
All the way down. All the way down.
And as a bachelor, Mauro has become quite accomplished as a chef. His favorite recipe begins: take the juice from one bottle of Pepto-Bismol. You know, Mauro is a very philosophical fellow. Some personal reflection by Mauro. Mauro says, it is better to be healthy than wise. If you're sick, it costs you money, but you can be stupid for free. And he says, death is nature's way of saying, hold on my cause. And he also says, death is another way of saying, yesterday was the last day of the rest of your life. Truthfully, Mauro, you are one of the most capable, intelligent, talented, and nicest people it has been my privilege to know in this industry. I've enjoyed your performances. I've laughed at your jokes, and I've learned from your example. You're no Susan Lucci. You deserve an Oscar, a Tony, and an Emmy.
Been doing it for 18 years. The first time we had to hose a guy down. And by the way, Larry Klein is now spinning his grave into that. Not last on the list, but last on the roast stores list. I always say Jimmy Gillespie, I never know what the hell he's going to do. And he's not in disguise tonight. He's actually, here is Jimmy. Jim, take it easy on us, will you please?
Hold on just a little, please. There's a gang going around. There's someone I'm not allowed to speak about. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the 12-step program teaches us that we are as sick as the secrets we keep. Secrets are like an acid eating away at us. When we keep a secret, we sacrifice a little bit of ourselves, and we're devoured, thread by thread, a little bit like edible underwear. Recovery means giving up the secrets and living our lives in the open. We should be like Mauro. Don't shave. Don't change your underwear for a week. Refuse to shower, let your hair grow. Go ahead, let your neighbors see you take a leak in the bushes. Secrets. Secrets is what it's all about. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't want to be here tonight. I haven't been feeling very funny lately. I've had some personal problems, some of you may know. And I haven't been feeling very funny lately. For those of you who don't know, I recently found out that I was adopted. When I found that out, I had to go in search of my biological parents. And I found out that my mother was a staunch lesbian. She decided she wanted to put a child on the face of this earth, but she hated men. So she went through artificial insemination. And when she gave birth, she gave me up for adoption. When I found out about the artificial insemination, I had to go in search of my biological father. That is, the sperm donor. It turns out that he was a gay male. As a result, the Guinness Book of World Records is now investigating me as the first biologically engineered homosexual. I didn't want to be here tonight so much to roast Mauro Contrastano. I just wanted to be here to change the drink. This has really confused my life. Down at the board, I used to go along, I used to stare at Nadine Leibowitz's legs. Oh boy. And I used to look at Donna Salvo's cute little figure and red fingernails. I'm so confused. Now I find myself counting the cellulite lumps in Steve Burstein's ass. Ray Gorman, you hunk of Green Beret. Oh, Ramon, thank you so much for the dishonorable discharge. But I do owe a lot to my current situation. You see, now, for me, the opposite sex is multiple choice. And as a result, I've learned the difference between sexy and kinky. Oops. There it is. Oh, by now. Sexy and kinky. Thank you. Sexy is when you tickle your partner, the opposite sex, with a feather. Kinky is when you use the whole chicken. You see, sometimes I even do the whole chicken. Excuse me. I tried to talk to several people about this. The only one I've gotten any kind of reply from was Ed Hilfer. The problem is, he keeps speaking to me in sports terms. He talks to me about shooting from the outside and going one-on-one and go for the layup. I don't know if he's trying to help or hit on me. See, the problem with my life is that even growing up with my adopted parents wasn't easy. I have a poem from my father to my mother that I'd like to read for you. Your smile is summer bright and never does it wane. shut up. Your hair flows over your shoulders like the fresh morning rain. Your eyes like the vast blue sky from ocean to ocean. So how come your fat ass looks like a truck? It's a problem. It's really a problem. In all fairness, my mother wrote a poem in return. It was entitled, "Put Your Shirt On, You're Scaring the Kids." It goes like this. I love you, and you love me. Do you know him? All right. I love you and you love me. We don't love him. But put your shirt on, you're scaring the kids. And while you're at it, put your pants on, you're scaring the cat. I've tried to talk to other people about this. A lot of other people. I've tried to speak to the dildo Spillane. The problem is he's too busy investing in taverns. One drink at a time. This guy is living proof that God invented alcohol so that the Irish wouldn't rule the world. And this guy has the nerve to talk to us about nepotism. Jesus Christ, if it wasn't for his uncle, he'd be serving snow cones at Great Adventure. And I've tried to speak to Ray Gorman, that homophobe. He's so nasty. He's so nasty, when he dies, he wants to be cremated and have his ashes thrown in the face of Rose Caputo. What the hell's the story with that? I tried to talk to Alan Catkin. He's smarter than he looks. But then again, he'd have to be. Lately, he's been keen on self-improvement. He tells me he reads every day until his lips get tired. And Chicky, the lovely Chicky. Hi, Chicky. You look marvelous. Sit down, Chicky. I asked her, how do you keep your youth? She says, usually I lock him in the wardrobe. But she loves 18-year-olds. They don't know what the hell they're doing, but they can do it all night. And I tried to speak to Joe Napa. All he wants to do is talk about his goddamn partner. He says that Bob Jr. works almost every day. Almost Monday, almost Tuesday, almost Wednesday. And Mark Jasper, that old figure. He bitches at us for not writing and not calling. I mean, for Christ's sake, he gets his state pension, he gets his Social Security, he gets his PPD at $300 a week. He makes more money than half the goddamn people in this room. And he bitches to us? Mark, we don't write, we don't call, we don't care. I tried to speak to Pat Mauro, but he wants to speak about diets. He said diets are great. It's the only way that he can keep from putting on too much weight. It's disgusting. And Hellbach Sr., he wants to speak about politics. He's been compared to many great men. For the most part, unfavorably. He says in crime they say, take the money and run. In politics they say, run and take the money. He'll double-cross that bridge when he comes to it. And Ken Larkin, I only know him superficially, but I have a feeling that may be enough. He told me he's got to stop drinking. He thinks he's not an alcoholic.
I never told you that.
He never told me that. He says he's not an alcoholic, but he's beginning to read the writing on the floor.
Not as thing as you drunk I am.
And Warren Burkett, I tried to speak to him. He usually talks at 100 words per minute with gusts up to 120. who regards free speech not so much as a right, but as a continuous obligation. For Christ's sake, he can talk for hours without a note, and for that matter, without a point. But now we come to the honoree. Oh, gee. Mauro Contrastano. Is he normal? Is he crazy? Is he an overlooked genius by some stroke of terrible luck who got stuck with this job, these partners, this hairline? What hidden wonders lie beneath these hair plugs? Perhaps in a former life he was a great warrior, a dragon slayer, a pharaoh, or a lusty priest. A lusty priest. Thank you. I'll do a lot of these. Just pick one out you like, all right? Perhaps in his life he is actually a slayer of hearts, even though nobody knows it yet. Maybe he is meant to pursue Kathy Ireland, Naomi Campbell, and Cindy Crawford all at once. It's only that they never happened by Joe and Tony's bowling alley on Friday night to see him in action. Out of 5 billion human beings on the planet, there's only one Mauro Contrastano. Perhaps because the world can't stand to. His opinions and insights are worth at least as much as the next man's, probably even more. He could write a novel, or not. He could host his own successful TV show. Who knows what awesome destiny he is meant to fulfill? He is special just because he's him. His mommy and daddy said so. Everyone knows that Mauro claims to be an actor. You can always tell an actor, but you can't tell him much. An actor is the only hand that can't be curious, and he is one. He's no singer. Oh, he couldn't carry a tune if it had a handle. He has an unusual voice. It's like asthma set to music. But there are strange things about him that very few people know. As a kid, he didn't get along very well with his father, and he moved out. Unfortunately, his father developed Alzheimer's disease. And his mother called him and said, "Mauro, come home, all is forgotten." In high school, he had a crush on a female teacher. He was 14, she was 31. Pretty much it was love puppy style. Love puppy style. Thank you. Lately, he's been experimenting with unusual positions in sex. He says the next thing is to try them out on people. But he does spend a good portion of his day naked. And he sits and watches the Playboy channel with a big jar of Vaseline handy. But lately, he's been using Vicks Vapor Rub. He likes the extra heat. Oh, really? Let the first one of you without a hand cast the first stone. But Mauro and I are so very much alike. We're both Catholic. We both went to Cardinal Spellman. We both had Drunk Bernard, that evil little troll. God, he sucks. We both loved Free Willy. Zip, he's free. We both went to law school and we both workers' compensation judges. And we both have the same attitude as the chestnut vendors you see at Christmas time. They don't want to set the world on fire. They just want to keep their nuts warm. And yet we're so very different. My last name is Abrams. from the Hebrew Avram or Abraham, meaning prophet, and his last name is Contrastano, from the Italian contrastanare, meaning drop your drawers, we don't have much time. I'm tall and big, and he's just not. Shut up. I'm a gay male, and he's a thespian. In conclusion, I think it's appropriate to finish with a Carl Sandburg poem. Night from a railroad car window is a great, dark, soft thing, broken across with slashes of light. This is not unlike Mauro's life. It's not that great. It's sometimes dark. But the slashes of light have touched every one of us softly and deeply. Congratulations, Mauro.
As always, great. But as always, we have to hold until last because we never know what's going to happen. We lost the whole house about a half an hour ago. 4 or 5 people have come to me tonight and said, you know, you haven't introduced Mauro. He's the guest of honor. And it's traditional that we save this introduction for now. I'm not going to roast him. All right? I just want to present him with something that I think he can keep with him as many as Dick Spillane still has his up. And he doesn't remember where it is. I know it's there, Dick. I've seen it. Well, on behalf of everybody, let me present it to you.
Late in December, I was approached by Jim Abrams, and he told me that the ANCR committee was looking for a good candidate to roast this year. And I asked him, well, who do you have in mind? He said, well, we're looking for a guy who'll make an easy target, you know, a guy who's sort of a nebbish, pasty pale, glasses, a repressed type of personality. And I said, that sounds great, but didn't you already roast your boil? I actually was not the first choice for this year's roast. Ordinarily, I would take such things in stride. My ego is not as large as Joe Delgado's waistline, or as big as Jim Abrams' mouth. What really hurt is finding out who was in mind first. The original vision for this year's ANCR was a dual roast of Ron Einziger and Joel Gluck with a theme of identical twins separated at birth. And if that weren't bad enough, I found out that Jerry Herman turned down the honor. Never in the annals of the Wakers Compensation Board has there been a more deserving nominee. They came up with me and what luminous personalities grace this dais. I think perhaps they were all trying to audition for one of my productions, but it's obvious that they can't entertain a thought. I must take a moment, first of all, to pay honor to our Master of Ceremonies, Bob Hellbach. Bob is a man of great depth and wit. Actually, Bob has slimmed down quite a bit, and I'm very happy. Not for him, for us. At one point, Bob was only one donut away from affecting the tides. And Robbie, that sneak didn't tell me he was going to be on the dais tonight, so he thought he could get away without a parting shot. But Robbie, I've got to tell you, you really look good tonight. I can see you came all prepared. You went to Charlie Cates's barber. And I
must say, you have really turned into a powerful speaker. I can actually hear you above the snoring. And my partner, Gene Spillane, is here. You know, it's become quite frustrating for Marcy and me lately because Gene has taken off so much time to go golfing, and this is the truth. He's always telling us it's for business reasons, but really, the straw that broke the camel's back came last month, and this is the truth. He comes into the locker room at the board in Brooklyn, and you should have seen how he was dressed. He had on like a brown Scottish tweed jacket, a blue striped shirt, a gaudy golfing tie with more colors than Joseph's dream coat, and he had on white pants that were clearly out of season, and he had red tasseled loafers. Nothing matched. Obviously, the devastating impact of the limited Irish genetic pool. And I said to him, very casually, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" And he said, "I'm golfing this afternoon with John Poznansky and a chiropractor in New Jersey." I said, "And you're taking off half a day for this?" He says, "Yeah, well, I'm not taking off the full day." He said, "I'm only taking off half a day because I'm only golfing the back nine." And not being familiar with golf terminology, I very calmly asked him, "What in God hell's name is the back nine?" And some other guy in the place chimed in at that point. He says, "That simply means he's not playing the front nine." I said, "How could he? He's Irish. He doesn't even have a front three." And Gene is such a super Irish. He's super, to the point of being ridiculous where the British are concerned. He told me that at the end of the Falklands Island War, that the British brought home shiploads of sheep. And I said, "Why would they do something like that?" He said, "War brides." Marv is here, and he has proved to be a very active septuagenarian. The other day, his wife Ann said to him, "You know, Marv, why don't you scream out my name when we're making love?" And he said, "I don't want to wake you up." But cheer up, Marv. When Ray Gorman makes love, he screams out his own name. Before Marv left for Florida, he went to apply for his Social Security benefits. And when he was there, the clerk, she asked him for proof of his age, so he took out his birth certificate and everything. But then she made an unusual request. She asked him to lift up his shirt so she could see his chest. So he did it. And she approved the application. He went home and he told Ann this odd story about the clerk and her request. And she says, "It's too bad she didn't ask you to drop your pants. You could have gotten disability benefits." Is here. Alan, you're a really funny guy. Alan was proof positive that sex is wicked. Look at how his parents were punished for engaging in that. You know, Alan, if you were a planned child, your parents would be indicted for criminal conspiracy. You know, Alan's the kind of lonely guy. The only difference between him and a hefty bag is the hefty bag sometimes gets picked up. Alan isn't a very good attorney. Sorry, Alan, it's true. He gets so wrapped up in the details, he can't see the forest for the trees. In fact, most of the times, he can't see beyond the end of his nose, although that is quite a distance. And Kenny Larkin, hey. And Kenny Larkin came all the way from Long Island to pay me tribute. And Kenny is an interesting guy. This is also the truth. He once did a marvelous imitation of Rain Man. At least I thought it was an imitation until I saw him in Brooklyn one morning about 9:20, standing outside of Part 2 screaming, 10 minutes to Rosenbluth! 10 minutes to Rosenbluth! 10 minutes to Rosenbluth! I did a little investigation into Kenny's background, and I found out that he was nursed by his grandmother. I guess that's why he likes to drink milk 3 days after the expiration date. We have our own Jim Abrams here. Jim, as you have all been told, worked for the telephone company for a while, and then he worked for some other companies as well, and he really tried to make it in the corporate world, but he fell on his face when he suggested a merger between Xerox and Wurlitzer so that they can make reproductive organs. Jim asked me if I would let him star in one of my productions, and I did come up with a role for him, Captain Hook, with a severe case of jock itch. There are certain physical characteristics about Jim that really do bother me, like that beard. You know, it has gotten scruffy over the years. 2 years ago, when he shaved it off, they found one of OJ's gloves. He's been a little insecure about his sexuality lately, and he recently went to one of those catalogs and ordered a member enlarger, and they sent him a magnifying glass. He told me about his exciting past. He was once a Chippendale dancer. Now he's joined Joe Delgado as a Chip-Ahoy dancer. You've all seen Jim work his marvelous Foster Brooks drunkard imitation, but I'm afraid that it's not so much an imitation. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I found out that in his wilder, younger days, he routinely got plastered, especially when he went out on dates. And one time he had a date with a girl who proved to be very eager, so she brought him home. She went to her bedroom, she got all undressed, struck a very provocative pose, and she said, "Jim, come on in." And he kind of stumbles in there. And this girl also happened to be a little kinky. She had tattoos on her inner thighs. Robert Redford on the left, Paul Newman on the right. And she said, points to them, and she says, "Jim, do you recognize these guys?" "No, I don't. But the guy in the middle is definitely Willie Nelson." About Jim is that he thinks he's so exciting and entertaining, but really he's very boring. He's so boring that when he masturbates, even his hand falls asleep. I'd like to take note of some of the other members in the audience. Unlike Gene, I'm not afraid. I take note of my partner, Marcy Ulaner. Marcy, unlike Gene, does not take off time to go golfing, but she does take off a lot of time to go to the doctor. And, you know, I got a little fed up one day, and I said, "How can you take off so much time always going to the doctor?" She said, "Do you think I like this? Do you think I like always going to the doctor and having to take off all my clothes? But it's so hard to find a good eye doctor these days." Here's the toilet paper when you need it. Alan Cass is here. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Morris. I'll take care of all this later. Alan Cass is here, and Alan, yes. Alan is very particular about the kind of women he dates. They have to have an extremely rare quality. They have to like him. He once asked me for advice. He said he wanted to know how he could have women at his feet, and I said, "Drop a $1,000 bill." I am missing, another good friend of mine is here, Joe Madden. The sun-bronze Adonis of the legal profession. Joe stopped by the office a couple of weeks ago, and I wasn't feeling well. And he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well, you know, I have a sore throat." And he said, "Well, whenever I have a sore throat," he said, "I always suck on a lifesaver." And I said, "You know, Joe, I think you really are spending too much time at the beach." I'd also like to take some note of some people who aren't here, like Mel Schramm. I really like Mel a lot, although a lot of people do find him annoying. He's sort of like a midget in a nudist colony, always getting in people's hair. The chairman was invited to this evening's festivities, but he declined. He was busy drawing up plans to blow up Louis Heller's yacht. I must say that there are some people here. I was surprised not to see more judges, but I'm glad to see that Chicky came back. You know, Chicky She was one tough judge. I mean, a real tough lady. I mean, we're talking about a woman who rolls her own tampons. A neat trick she picked up from Barbara Deinhardt. I guess you've really heard a lot about my theatrical exploits here. And last year, I think that Ed Hilford treated you to one of my prior compositions, The Claimant is a Tramp. And I think this year it's the Carriers' turn. After 20 years of dealing with them, I think it's time that we tell them what we think. Right, right. And Eddie Hilford's going to help me with this one, okay? And we brought music. No. You're not going to do it a cappella? No. Now we've got to try to do this with music. Let's see if we can work this thing out, okay? Ready? No. It ain't so much a question of not knowing what to do. Yes, all the injured workers we should pay. The claimants tell us stories, and we reckon they are true. But we still fight their cases anyway. We know that they deserve this benefit. But at a hearing, we just give them shit. We're just the guys who can't say yes. You're in a terrible fix. Just when you think you're in like Flynn, we're there to cut off your sticks. When a claimant starts to yell and scream, we really want to give his face a slap. But we still get even in the end. Instead of giving comp, we give him crap. Though he has post-traumatic stress, is dizzy and ready to faint. We're deaf to every complaint. Kindly and generous we ain't. We can't say yes. What you gonna do when a claimant is hurtin' and sobbing and blurtin'? What you gonna do? Supposing that he says that his mortgage is owing, his wife is going. What you gonna do? Supposing that he says that he's gotta have comp, yes, he's gotta have comp or die. What you gonna do when he talks that way? Spit his eye. We're just the guys who can't say yes. We love to fuss and to fight. Like Nancy Reagan, we just say no, whether it's wrong or it's right. Now with Chairman Snatchel at the helm, we finally have a friend to call our own. And the claimants we will overwhelm, and we don't fear Sherman and Malone. No, you may feel some great distress, no use to make a complaint. Snatchel's our guardian saint. We don't feel any restraint. We can say yes.
CDs are available in the lobby, ladies.
I would like to take note of the fact that some people that were supposed to be here didn't show up, like Warren Finkelstein. I won't forgive him for that. But I would like to take note of one other special person, Dick Spillane. It was 20 years ago this month that I answered an advertisement, just like they said, in the Law Journal for an Italian-speaking attorney at a workers' compensation law firm. And somebody that I was working with at that time said, "Oh, you don't want to go there." He says, "You know what they do? They carry around all their files in a shopping cart." But you know, times were hard back then, so I went to try out for this job on a Saturday afternoon in early November of 1976. And I went to the office over at 11 Park Place at that time, and Leo Caruso was there. And for all of you who remember Leo, he was an impeccable gentleman.
Great voice.
He, yeah, great voice, thank you. He was dressed beautifully, very neat. Dick was there sitting in some ratty old slacks and an ugly plaid shirt, you know, obviously affected by the same Irish malady as his nephew. Obviously not wanting to be there. So I spoke with Leo in Italian for a while, and I could tell that he really hit it off. But with Dick, it was a different story, and I could see he wasn't too keen on me. And at the end of the interview, he looked at me and he said, "Now look, this is serious business. This isn't just a fly-by-night kind of thing." He says, "This isn't a job, this is a commitment." He said, "You know, we don't want to train you, spend all this time and effort training you." He says, "And then you're going to go take your talents elsewhere." He said, "It's a commitment." And I said to him, "I take my commitments very seriously." And so I did. Here I am 2 decades later, still at the firm of Caruso Spillane. Although I must admit there are times I do sit there and ask myself, have I stayed long enough? Do anybody would mind if I left now? Well, I don't know if it's time for me to leave the firm, but I know it's time for me to say good night. Thank you.